Welcome back to another episode of Financially Forever After, a love and money podcast. We are your hosts,
Brett Schunkweiler.
And his lovely wife, Lindsay Schunkweiler.
Lovely wife.
Welcome back. So, I think we should definitely start talking a little bit more about us, because it's like, why did we start this podcast? You know, we obviously know you have financial experience, but why did we want to bring in the relationship aspects of it? You know, we've already discussed how we've been married a while, dating a while. We've basically grown up together, I would say.
Yeah, pretty much. You've been with me more years of your life than you have not.
That is so true. So, I mean, it got me thinking that circling back, this is really going to age us for these young listeners, to our very first date. That would have been, 2001. I think it was 2001.
2001. So I graduated high school in 01. Yeah, because I went to, because we worked at the local pizza place together, and you graduated in 2002 from high school. Yeah. So we started dating when I was,
it would have been 2001.
2001.
So we talked about how you obviously worked with me and you were seeing and you were a liking. It was definitely a swipe left situation in real life.
Stop with your swipe left thing. Jesus.
I'm just applying to the younger generation.
How do you know this stuff?
I have friends that are, in the dating world. Okay. But so first date, or first time we met, you gave me your number. I acted really in my awkward, anxious self, like, thank you, and goodbye.
So in essence, at the end of the night, so here we are, both waiters, or waiter, waitress, and at the end of the night, I'm like, okay, I'm going to make my move. I'm going to give her my phone number. Granted, I've never done this before in my life. I've never given a girl my phone number. And I give her, hey, if you ever want to call and hang out and go on a date or whatnot, like, here's my number. And what do? You look down, and like you said, awkwardly, you're like, thanks. And then you left so fast.
I was like,
you literally left.
What
so
just
fast.
happened? Thought I was jiving with this guy, and all of a sudden he's giving me his number, and I still have it because it was on your
still have it
envelope that you wrote all of your menu orders on.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you have the exact same phone number from back then.
Yeah.
So no, I still have it.
Now, granted, it was at the end of the night and you were leaving. So I did it right before you
leave.
My
shift is over.
Because I was trying to be strategic about it. I'm like, if she says no,
you didn't think I'm going to work with this girl again?
Well, I was like, okay, well, if it doesn't handle this well, like, at least she's done with the shift for the night. and if it goes well, then like, sweet, I'm in good for the, yeah. So right afterwards, my literally thought in my brain was like, oh, well, that went well.
I think I sat in my car a good while just like, what just happened? Like, I know he liked me enough to give me his number, but like, what am I supposed to do with this? It was so awkward.
So what did you do?
So then I was like, well, again, early 2000s. I was a senior in high school at this point.
I was a freshman in college.
So you were, more worldly than I was at the time.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I'm not calling this guy. Girls don't call guys. Like, again, that was my mindset at the time. Obviously, that's probably different now. But, I was like, okay, well, I got to figure out a way to give him my number. I don't know why I didn't think to just text it to you. Like, did we have texting?
Yeah, I remember when I was a senior in high school, I had one of those, the flip
T-Mobile.
phones.
What
was it, like the TI or T?
Yeah.
86
Something.
or I don't know what.
And you had to click.
Yeah, they had like the 3 digits to each one. If you wanted K or L, you had to hit like 3 times to get an L. And if it completed the word.
The funny thing is that's what our kids have now. Like, they wanted a phone. We're like, here you go. They're like, how do you text? I'm like, you gotta hit
3 times to get the letter that you want. And then we got so excited when it actually completed the word. Like, it was like, oh, here's 3 of the words it could be.
Yeah, it didn't feel like now.
And they're like, yes, that's it. And then you hit enter.
Yeah. So didn't text you, but I did. I was like, okay, I'm gonna come in with my friend, and we're gonna request to sit in your section.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to return the favor and leave my number on a napkin.
Yep.
Which good thing you didn't throw it away. I would have been like, why isn't he calling me?
Yeah.
You had it.
I called you. I waited a day.
No, you
and then I
didn't call
called.
me. I don't think you ever called me because I was like waiting and waiting. That's why I eventually made the
Are
first
you
move.
sure? I thought I called you
No.
like a day or two later.
No.
Mm.
I was like, well, cool. Oh no, you might have called me.
Yeah, I could have sworn I
But
called
it
you like
never led
I waited a
anywhere.
day. Then
You're right. You're right. But it just wasn't going. You weren't asking me on a date. You would just call and like we would talk, but you never took it anywhere.
I gave you my number the
then-
first day. That should have been an indication of
So
something.
then I was the initiator and took the first move to set up the date. So I, a big hockey fan and
Mhm.
our local hockey team, I got tickets. I was like, all right. Again, it goes back to my anxiety and my control issues, but I drove and picked you up and I paid for it all because I think you thought the tickets were free, but I was like, hey, you want to go to a hockey game?
Yeah, you called and said, "Hey, I got some tickets to go to the hockey game
Yeah.
tonight. Would you like to go with me?"
Yeah.
So that makes me believe that like the tickets were paid for. Like you
No.
got the tickets, and then
My
like,
meager
and I'm like, sure, yeah, I'd love to go.
salary of a waitress at the local pizza bar.
Oh come on, tickets. What do they cost you? $8.
It
It couldn't have been that expensive.
It wasn't too bad, but I digress. I was the initiator. I drove and I paid for
Wait,
the date.
okay. Well, what happened on the way home?
I drove.
No, you got sick. Remember?
No, that was our second date.
Oh, your second.
That was our second date.
Second date. You got
So,
sick.
yeah,
and what
our-
did I do on our second date?
You did drive, but you stopped at a gas station and got me a Sprite and some Tums.
Because you're like, oh, Sprite makes me feel so
That
much
was-
better.
That was nice.
And I was so sweet.
That was nice.
See?
So, okay. So, yeah, I'm glad we brought up our first date, though, because it leads into where I wanted to talk about with
Okay.
relationships today. And that is, so, in this day and age, a lot of people are meeting online. That's just the cold, hard truth. After, the pandemic, it's really hard to meet people, I feel like. And I feel like most people are, having conversations online and meeting people online. And maybe they're the people you're in a relationship or the person you're in a relationship, it might not even live in your town anymore or, maybe
yeah.
out of state, maybe across the country. Who knows? But the question is, in a new relationship, who do you feel like should be the one paying for the dates?
Based on the first date, should be you. No, just
I
kidding.
mean, let's be real here. I definitely did that. hmm
Once again, I thought it was already all paid for. And it was $8. It couldn't have been more than $8 for a ticket.
Yes,
Okay.
probably. I don't know. Did I pay for food that night? I think I did too.
Didn't have any food
I
that
think
night.
we had pretzels.
You know what? There was 3 goals scored in that game, and
And
we
we
were
missed all of
talking,
them.
and we were just having a
Which
grand
I
old
was
time.
actually irked about because I'm like super into hockey. And I was like, he made me miss these goals, but also I was like having a good time talking to
Yeah,
you.
we had such a good time talking. We didn't even
So
catch any of the
next
goals.
time I make you miss a football play, you should be like, oh, it's payback.
But you know what they didn't have back then? Well,
Replay. Well, it's hockey. I feel
But they have some replay now. They didn't have that back
Oh,
in
yeah,
the day.
probably
So
not.
now, like at the
we could
Stars game, like
watch it
they'll
again.
have
Yeah.
that.
I mean, this isn't an NFL game by any means. It was like a
Well, yeah, because it's
high
hockey.
school college team.
You said NFL.
Or sorry, NHL.
NHL, yeah.
Right. That's my bad. That's how good I am with sports.
Yeah, see, I
But see, we're going off topic again.
It's
So
fine.
the question is, what do you feel like in this day and age? Let's say, you and I just in our mid 40s now are starting to date. Let's use that scenario. Let's say you're
well, hold on. We're not mid 40s.
Oh, sorry, early 40s, but middle
Yeah.
age is what I meant. So middle age, let's say you're starting over. Let's say you're newly divorced or your
Mm-hmm.
spouse, God forbid, passed away and you're just, or maybe you've never been married and you're just kind of starting to get out there. I feel like the situations are different for like people in our stages of life because we are more established. We have
Yeah.
careers. We have, we've been saving for a certain amount of time at this point. So I don't feel like it's a bad thing for, to split each date. Like, okay, I'll get this date, you can get the next day, or splitting the check equally down the middle, or going for ice cream after maybe you paid for dinner, I pay for ice cream, and the next time we switch it up. So I think that's okay, especially in this day and age. I think women want to feel like we are just as capable as a man and we can handle that as well. So what is your thoughts
Like
on that?
women empowerment. I'm
Yeah.
a strong, independent woman.
Absolutely. And that's what we're empowering our daughters to
Yeah,
think
I mean,
as
here's
well.
the thing, though. I'm a little old school now. Granted, you can pay for the first date, but once again, I thought they were paid for. But here's how I would approach it these days:
Okay.
is if I was a guy and
Well, if you're a guy, you are a guy.
I'm saying if I wasn't
you're
dating
in a
you,
scenario.
obviously I'm already married.
Okay.
Gosh, assuming I'm not married right now. So what I would do is I would offer, say, hey, I would love to take care of the bill. If you're okay with that. If not, that's fine.
Okay.
But I would say
That's nice to ask it that way.
yeah,
Not
like
assuming.
I would love to take care of the bill if you're okay with that. And then it's up to no, I'd rather pay my okay, that's perfectly fine. But then you at least give the option, you give the out in regards to that. Now,
That's
granted,
that's fair.
if somebody really like wants to pay, I would
Yeah.
assume like when you're asked that person out, like
Yeah.
they're gonna tell you like okay, but we're gonna split it.
Okay.
Or they'll tell you like at the start of the date or start of the
Yeah.
meal or whatever, like I'll get mine, you get yours.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to feel obligated.
Talk
Like
about
okay,
it ahead
well.
of time.
He bought me this meal. I feel like I
Right.
should go out another date just because he was nice.
Okay,
Like,
I see what you're saying. You feel like they're on the hook if you are
yes.
doing one meal. Okay. So in that case, it's almost fair to say 50-50, I would say.
I mean,
and I also think you shouldn't assume. You shouldn't assume that the guy is going to cover it. You shouldn't assume that the girl's going to want to split. So I liked your idea of like addressing it ahead of time. It's like, I would like to pay for this if you're comfortable with that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so let's spin it.
But it could be the other way too. I mean, the woman might be
yeah,
very
absolutely.
financially well off, and the guy
Yeah.
might not be. And
Yeah.
like, she might say, "Hey, I'd love to take care of this first one if
Yeah.
you're okay with that." And he's like, "Sure," or
And I
"No,
don't think
I'd like to
this
be
day
more
and
traditional. I want to
age-
do it."
But I don't think guys should be feeling emasculated by that
No.
either. I think in this day and age, like women are just as capable of
Absolutely.
paying for a date. Like, hey, it was early 2000s. I took the initiative and I took you on a date. So
Woohoo.
yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with
Okay,
that.
so let's go back to that. What was your very first birthday present I got you?
It wasn't birthday. I think it was Christmas, wasn't it? I think it was Christmas.
Was it Christmas
It was my
present?
Christmas
Whatever.
present.
The first present I got you was what?
So, yes, you did make up for our first date because then when we were officially a couple, you took me on a cruise because I think you sold books for the summer.
Yeah, I sold
You
educational
earned
books
this trip.
door to door
Yeah.
all summer long, and I hit their numbers to make their trip,
You
and
were able
I
to
took
take a
so
guest.
mine was free.
Oh, so
Yours was not free.
I don't know if I knew that.
I had to pay for you.
Okay, I thought
which
you
was
got a guest.
$500, $600 or something like that.
It's expensive for a college kid.
Yeah, so there you go.
I don't think I knew that.
Not too bad for.
That's why my parents were like, "You better lock that down. don't let that guy sleep. He can only go up from here. He's taking you on a cruise."
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I did it backwards. You start really, really high. And you're
Yeah.
like, okay, what do you get
Don't-
for the
yeah.
second gift if you give a
Can't
cruise the
top
first?
that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Okay, so we talked about couples in their middle stages of life, but
Mm-hmm.
let's say you're younger. Let's say you're in your early 20s, maybe late teens, and you're dating. How do you feel like the same stuff applies, or it's like
Well, what do you think? Like we have a 15-year-old
Oh,
now.
that's so true.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And
I want him, like today he's at the pumpkin patch with some friends, but a girl is there and I'm like, hey, you can offer to buy her lunch or, buy
Yep.
her something and she can accept or she doesn't have to. But like, yeah, I feel like girls, and we have 2 daughters too. I just never want them to feel like obligated to like, okay, now I have to go on a date or you offered to do this. So now I'm feeling obligated to
Correct.
have to like
Yeah.
go out with you or, be nice to you. Well, you should be nice to him.
yeah,
anyway,
be nice
but-
whoever you're with.
but yeah, so I think younger generation too, I feel like, I don't know, I this younger generation too, they're just more in tuned with, this concept of like respect and boundary. Not that our generation wasn't, it's just we were more like the guy does this, the girl does that.
Yeah.
That's kind of just how we were raised. But now I feel like it's more like the walls and the boundaries are kind of like
It's almost
blurred.
like, age demographic. So I would say, hey, if you're in your 50s or 60s, tell me if you think I'm wrong on this. Like they're probably more old school. Like the
Oh,
guy,
100%.
the guy
He's still
pays,
opening the door.
the girl doesn't pay. Like
Yeah,
that's just how it is.
100%.
Like ours.
But for younger groups that are just getting started, let's say you're in your first job and you meet someone and you want to go on a date. So going back to our new terms that I know that you're not going to know.
Oh gosh.
Pop quiz. This new term is called mirror dating.
Oh gosh.
Take a guess what you think this term means. And
I'm
getting this from Tribune Wired.
Okay, mirror dating.
Mirror dating.
Which means...
again, this has another term as well. So mirror dating or cost of loving.
What?
That
doesn't sound like anything that would be similar. Okay, I'm going to go with the mirror dating because that one would make sense to me.
Okay.
Mirror dating, in my opinion, it would logically make sense to be somebody that is just like me. So, for instance, like another financial advisor that likes sports, that doesn't like to go to concerts, something of that. That's what I would guess mirror dating. I don't know what you're thinking on this other one. That doesn't make any sense.
So that's not what it is.
What?
Mirror dating is cost-friendly dates or dating on a double date or a group date. So you're basically, let's say you and I are just meeting for the first time, but I'm not feeling comfortable with you quite yet. Maybe I met you online and I'm going to make sure you're not a serial killer. Double dating or group dating so that you can keep the costs down. So, we're all going out for pizza. We're all going to split it equally. Okay. Or we're all going out to play bowling, but again, we're splitting it equally. So it's a form of dating and getting to know someone through group.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Which I don't actually think is a bad idea.
I don't think it's a bad idea. It's a terrible term for it.
Being wired. But so yeah, I actually like that concept of like, especially, if you're meeting online and I'm putting my kids in this situation now, they're almost getting to those ages of going on first dates. And a lot of times at their age now, because one's in high school, one's in middle school, one's in elementary, but they're meeting people probably from school, so they do know them well. But I'm thinking maybe, after high school into college.
Well, we've introduced some of our best friends that like you knew her and I knew him.
Through,
and, like,
yes. That'd be like kind of a blind date.
It was your 21st, wasn't it?
No, my sister's.
Oh, your sister's 21st. Yep.
That works because we both knew them really well. But I'm saying like if you're meeting someone, you've been talking to them online and you've never met them in person before, I think it's a safe bet even too to just do it as a double date, get to know someone. Because then I think the pressure's off too. It's like, okay, it's just you and I. What do we talk about?
Then you get your friend's feedback. You're like, what do you think of this person?
Yeah. So, you could bring a friend, I could bring a friend, and it's group dating. It's like a modern, maybe our friends end up together.
You never know.
That'd be a best case scenario. So there you go. There's your term of the day. Cost of loving. Mirror dating.
It just makes sense.
Yes.
I need a better term.
Yeah, I think so.
It's all good.
Yeah. Now I'm looking forward to what you're going to throw out.
Okay, all right.
Financially wise.
So a couple of things, then one leads into the next. I want you to tell me what a stock is. What is a stock?
A stock.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of addressed this on a previous episode of like Amazon can be a stock. I mean, you have your big stocks and then you have your less stocks. I can't remember your terms that you use. Small cap,
and
big
large cap and medium cap.
You got it. So a stock is like something you can invest in, and it grows or it doesn't grow.
Yeah,
it's bear or it's bull. Is that right? Am I on the right?
Yeah, you're on the right. So it's one company, right? So you're investing in one company. So that company, it can be a growth-oriented stock. It could be a dividend-oriented stock.
What does that mean?
So dividends, like, your GE, like your General Electric, like they're, in essence, a company that has consistent type of returns, and they pay out a dividend or like a payment to you for owning the stock. So it's never going to grow a whole bunch, but they'll say, hey, we're going to give you 4% per year. So if you invest $100, you know that they're going to give you $4 every year for investing in that. So it's not really going to grow, like your 100's still going to be there, but you know that you consistently have that $4 coming in. A growth stock means you put in 100, you don't get any dividend. Like you want this just to grow, like you want it to go way up. So a lot of times, like your tech-oriented stocks, Those are more growth focused because you just want them to grow a whole bunch, like an Amazon or like a Nvidia or something of that nature.
But it's still, that's a gamble though.
That's a gamble. Yeah, they're both a gamble.
They're both a gamble. Okay.
You know, the one would be dividend would be less of a gamble because you know you at least have something coming in
back
out of it, so it's a little bit less risky. So that's what a stock is. Now, what's a mutual fund?
Oh gosh, you've said this before.
You're like, I wasn't paying attention because it was blah blah blah, boring.
Gosh, you are so right. I feel like, oh my gosh, I feel like you're Chandler Bing sometimes. I'm dating myself again, but to a Friends character for those of you who have no idea who Chandler Bing
God
is.
rest his soul.
Yeah, they had no idea what he did on a day-to-day basis. I obviously know you're a financial advisor, but some of the terms you use, I'm like, blah, 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 blah.
It's like a girl say.
Okay, so mutual fund. They are funds that are mutually exclusive. They don't date other funds. They are only together. They are exclusive, and they're in a mutual relationship. Am I right?
You are absolutely 100% incorrect.
Oh gosh, darn it!
You knew that though. Like, yeah, they're
mutually exclusive.
exclusive.
That's wrong.
That is wrong.
I bet you're gonna think of that next time you try to sell
I
a mutual
will.
fund.
I will think of that and how wrong you were. But no, a mutual fund is just a collection of stocks.
Okay.
So, for instance, like you've heard the term S&P 500 before.
I don't think I have.
What? How can you not?
How have you not heard of the Mormon housewives?
I've heard of it because you said it.
But you wouldn't have beforehand. So
If I didn't know
I know
you.
my strengths. You know yours.
Yeah. So anyway, S&P 500, very widely known.
Okay.
Most widely compared against index in the world, which is just a mutual fund, of the top 500 stocks.
Oh, okay. Yes,
I have heard this. The largest 500
Is it called
stocks.
something else though?
No.
Can it be called something
S&P
else?
500. There's some main ones. So there's the S&P.
Okay.
There is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which
Okay.
is industrial stocks.
Right.
And there's the NASDAQ, which is tech stocks.
I've heard of NASDAQ. I've seen that on your forums before.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's Russell 2000, 3000, and there's a bunch of other indexes, but those are like the main three.
Okay.
So a mutual fund is just a collection of a bunch of different stocks. So really, the S&P 500 is just the top 500 largest stocks.
Okay. So
Kinda
Amazon's
combine it.
obviously
Yep.
probably in that club.
Yep. Combined in there.
Okay.
So that's what a mutual fund is.
So why does that benefit me? Why do I need to know this information?
Well, it benefits you because if you say, hey, you know what, I don't want to be, like you said before, like, what's a stock? Okay, well, one's, a dividend stock and one's a stock that grows a whole bunch. So if you get just one stock, it could go way up or way down.
Right.
Like you could lose a whole bunch of money or make a whole bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in a mutual fund, if one of the stocks does really, really well, but 5 of the other stocks tank, or in this case, 499 of the other stocks tank, then you're going to go down. Like the market's going to go down. But the whole word or the whole thought is diversification. So when you invest in that index, you're not investing in just any one company. You're investing in a whole bunch of different companies. So that way, hopefully, when some of them do go down, some of the other ones are doing well. So moral of the story is hopefully grows, or more companies are doing well compared to the ones that are not doing well. So you take less risk by getting in a mutual fund than what you do a stock.
Okay. So let's say I want to invest in one of these stocks. Do you feel it's beneficial to meet with an advisor or broker for that information, or do you feel like anyone could do it?
I mean, anyone could do it, but I had a client that, he's like, I just want to kind of play myself and see how I do. And
it's kind of like a game, isn't it? Like
it's kind of like
Monopoly.
well, not Monopoly. It's kind of like educated gambling. Now
Right.
because a lot of people think they can do it, right?
Mhm.
They're like, oh, I think I can pick better stocks than you. I'm
Right.
like, okay, well, good luck. And, he came back here after a year and a half of doing it. He's like, yeah, I tried. I'm like, his name is, let's say Mark.
Yeah,
Mark.
Mark.
We'll say Mark. That's not his real name. Say Mark. I'm like, the market was up the last year and a half, and you're down like 27%.
Yeah,
Like,
how does
and
that
you're in
even
like,
happen?
you're in like 22 different stocks. Like, what happened? He's like, well, I thought this was going to go up, and I thought this was going to go up, and then he's like, yeah, I'm just not very good at this.
Yeah.
Like, I stink at this. Like,
Yeah.
can you help me? I'm like,
Okay.
yeah, Mark, I will help you.
Yeah.
And we've been able to turn it around pretty quick.
Good. Okay. So in this case, then you would recommend maybe seeking someone who might
You might
know
want to
what
seek
they're
somebody that
doing.
knows a thing or two.
So if you're getting in a relationship and your significant other tells you, I'm amazing at the stock market, let me have your money and I will invest for you, maybe to think twice about that.
Think twice, get a second opinion, see how they do. Or, if that's the case, if you really love it, we'll tell you to keep doing it, but we'll evaluate it first and say, ooh, you maybe don't want to, or you know what, you're actually doing a pretty good job. You can leave it there
and
too.
Circling back to stock, because I feel like we've had this conversation a lot, because you're always like, oh yeah, we just made a ton of money, but our stocks are up. And to me, it's like, that money is mine until it's in my bank account.
Correct.
So how do you know when to like pull it out? Because sometimes you're like, oh, we're going to write it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to grow more, and then maybe it'll tank, and then you're like lost all that money. So like, to me, it's like, if it's high and it's like, wow, this is a good opportunity, let's pull this out. How do you gauge that? How do you know when to pull it out and keep it in?
There's one good saying is no one ever went broke making money.
Right.
So, I mean, if you can lock in on the upside, that's good. So let's just say you bought in $100 a share, and let's make it simple. You buy one share and your stock goes up to $225 a share. I mean, one thing you could do is say, hey, you know what? I'm going to sell $100 worth. I at least got my money back. And then everything else is pure profit.
Sure.
Now, granted, it doesn't always go up that much.
Yeah.
But, no one ever went broke making money. So you want to lock in as the market's going up, and you can take some profits off as it's going up. That doesn't mean you have to cash it all completely out.
Right.
But you got to gauge it like, all right, well, each stock, in my opinion, it's kind of like an elevator with 100 different floors. And you're like, okay, well, are you getting on the ground floor and trying to ride this all the way up to the 100th floor? Or are you getting in on, floor 60? You getting in on floor 70, 80? So what I mean by that is there's only so much room for it to grow and get really, really, really big, right? I mean, think of like Walmart stock right now. Like if you got in now, you're getting in on like the 98th floor. Like there's probably not a whole lot more room to grow. Like Walmart's all over the world.
Right.
Right. So you didn't get in 45 years ago.
It's going to get hot early.
Hot. Yeah. So it just depends. Every stock's a little different.
How do we know it's going to get hot though?
Ooh, well, you do your best. There's a lot of different factors that come into play. I have various different people that feed me stock picks, but I also have some of my own. So you just got to kind of look and pick and choose.
Something you have to watch though, probably.
Oh yeah, a lot of research that goes into it.
Yes, so probably not just the everyday Joe Schmo on the street should
probably
be
not.
You
I mean, you could.
Advice.
Yeah, if you want to do it for a little bit, it's fun. Like, hey,
our son does it in his class right now in high school.
Yeah, he's like 3 years in a row he's won it.
Yeah.
So
so he knows a few things from you.
Yeah, might have got a tip or two.
Young, but yeah. So that's a good opportunity to make some cash, is getting into that stock market.
Yeah.
So moral of the story, you wouldn't advise what our great grandparents used to do and bury their money in the backyard in a tin can. That's not a good way to grow.
I probably would not do that. No, that's not a good way to grow. It ain't going to grow anything. It's just going to stay there.
It's going to stay stagnant. And 100 years you can go.
Hopefully you don't die before you tell somebody where it's at.
$2 bills that they had in there.
Those 50-cent pieces. They're
worth
a lot. Yeah.
People wouldn't even know what they were probably.
Yeah, like that's fake.
Those will be discontinued.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us on another episode of Financially Forever After, a Love and Money podcast.